Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I'm on day 9 right now, and I've done 3 complete resets. It took Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, 7 days to get rid of a load that I traveled less than, from pickup to delivery was less than 400 miles. Took 7 days to get rid of it. You know, you can continue to watch this video that I've just interrupted, and right here 2 days ago, you can listen to me drone on and on and on about the worst, probably the worst week I ever had in 40 years of trucking. And again, I said it before, if I had a worse week than that week, I don't remember it. But it was absolutely terrible, and you can watch the video and listen to me drone on and on about what went wrong. But in the grand scheme of things, I listened to a message this guy gave on the book of Job in the Bible. And you want to talk about somebody who had a lot of excuses to curse God and die, it would have been Job. But in all of the things that happened to him, he didn't sin. Naked he came into the world, naked he said he would leave. And it made me think about, you know what, as bad as I thought I had it, it wasn't that bad. I said a lot of things that were not Christian-like during that week to my dispatcher, to anybody who would listen. And in the grand scheme of things, that's trucking. It's hard to accept at the moment when you're going through it, because anybody who's in the trucking industry knows that if the wheels ain't turning, you ain't earning. And when it takes almost 2 weeks to complete a trip that should have been done in less than 7 days, you can understand the frustration. But there's no excuse, there's no excuse for how I was behaving and the way I'm moaning and crying in this video about the week that was. So I just want to put it out there that, I just come to the realization that in this world we will have suffering. Just because a person claims to be a God-fearing, Bible-believing, born-again Christian doesn't mean that life is going to be all sunshine, rainbows, and roses. It's not. We still have our valleys. We still have our ups and downs. On the good days, I'm happy. On the bad days, I'm not so happy. I need to learn to accept it and just be thankful that I have another day to try and get it right. And for the reason I'm interrupting that crappy video is because I just want you all to know that, you know what, it's really not all that bad. As long as you wake up on this side of the earth, this side of the grass, it good day or bad day, just praise God that you have another day. That's all. And I just want to ask God for forgiveness for my lukewarmness. Again, I said it earlier, on good days I'm happy, bad days I'm not so happy. And you wouldn't know I was a Christian on bad days, and that's on me and nobody but me. I need to grow up. I've been calling myself a Christian since 1985 or 86, and I still feel like I'm a baby on pablum. But anyway, that's it. That's all. You can continue to watch me moan and cry on that video, or just end it right here. God bless. Oh, and by the way, you can watch to the very end and you can see the actual update on how much they actually paid me for 3 total resets and all the time lost on this particular trip. Full and trucks parked where they shouldn't be parked. That's to give you an indication that that area of Washington is in desperate need of more truck parking.
I went to the next truck stop, which didn't turn out to be a truck stop, just a pilot fueling station with no parking, and there were trucks parked on the street with signs that said no parking. In fact, there was a cop arresting somebody there at that time. Or several cops, but this guy was in handcuffs. I actually talked to one of the police officers and said, do you know anywhere around here where I could park a tractor trailer? He goes, well, not really. You're just going to have to find a place on the street somewhere. Well, it just so happened when I was on my way to the Loves, that was completely full, and according to their website, 170 truck parking spots, completely full. On the way there, I passed by a motel and I saw that there were trucks parked in there and there were empty spaces. So I booked it back in that direction, and sure enough, there was a spot when I got there. Well, that turned out to cost $20 US per night, which of course was going to be reimbursed by the company. And so that cost me 2 nights there. Fast forward to this, after the second night there, they sent me a dispatch to go down southeast to a town in Washington, a small town called, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, Wapato, W-A-P-A-T-O, pick up the load that I have right now. And and according to my GPS, I was going to get there before 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I told them, I says, the appointment was for 8 o'clock the next day, but they said, no, just go there, they might load you. Well, keyword being might. Okay, so I went there. Well, it turns out, no, we can't load you, it needs to be relabeled, and the person who does that won't be in until tomorrow morning, so come back. So I had to drive another 30 kilometers back in the direction I had already come, because that was the closest truck stop. Another $15 for parking. When I passed by the place, I saw it, because I was keeping my eyes open for truck parking in the event that I wouldn't get unloaded. And so I seen it, and then I went to, I went there. I don't know the name. Oh, it was called Gear Jammer. And it was $15 for parking, $18 for a shower. And so there we go. Another parking spot paid for. And so I left there early enough in the morning to get over to the customer before 7, right at 7 o'clock their time, local time. They put me in the dock door right away. They said the person who does the labeling doesn't show up till 8. That's fine. They gave me coffee, friendly people. Okay, fast forward to, I'm loaded with 6 totes of this wax that they put on apples, and this is a couple of concerns. I said, what if it's wax that goes on apples? They're in those big gigantic plastic totes you probably have seen around. Anyway, why, if it's wax, this wax that goes on apples, why do I need flammable placards? Because if it's flammable, and I'm like, and I eat apples like a lot. I ate a whole bag of apples on this trip. A 5-pound bag. But anyway, so that's fine. They gave me the paperwork, and I noticed there was no Canada Customs invoice, which normally you need. 99% of the time you need it. And so anyway, I sent the paperwork to our customs department at the company I drive for, and I said to them, I don't have the customs CCI. The shipper said they don't have it. They said that you have it. Is that true or false? They don't have it. So they told me, just wait there. Don't leave until I give you the okay to leave. And he says, I'll call the customer and see if they have it and we can get a copy of it. Well, they sent me an email telling me, okay, we sent them an email. We're just waiting for a reply. So almost an hour later, I said, you know what? I'm burning up valuable time here. How about picking up the phone and asking the customer? When I said I'm burning up valuable time here, because your time on, those of you who are not truck drivers don't realize that they give you, in the USA, they give you 11 hours of driving, but you have to have it done in 14 hours. And so I'm just sitting there wasting time. So the not dispatcher, but our customs department at our office says, "Oh, you can go." Well, thanks for telling me an hour later. Okay, so fast forward, I booked it up to the border. I'm crossing the border at Osoyos, and I'm not even 100% sure I'm pronouncing that right, because I've never crossed at this border before. Osoyos, British Columbia. But I don't have my ACI yet. So I know I got to find a place that has a printer that can, or a fax machine, sorry, that the company can fax it to me. I tell them, I said, I got a truck stop coming up here very shortly. I'm going to be stopping. I'll get you a fax number if you have the ACI. And I said, I'm taking my mandatory half-hour break, so you can go ahead and hopefully send that to me. Well, they sent it to me, but it didn't have the entry numbers on it. And I have 2 drops here. And that's another thing I said to them when I sent them the paperwork. Do you want me to use 1 PARS or 2 PARS stickers? He said, just use the 1. Okay, I used the 1. And when he sent me the ACI via fax without the entry numbers, he says, by the way, I had to put another PARS on there. Okay, and so you need 2 entry numbers. Don't go to the border without the entry numbers. And I've been told that for many times. You don't go to the border without the entry numbers. It could be a $2,000 fine, and apparently that's not a maybe, it's a fact. Okay, so I go to the border, but not to the customs. I went like 1 mile from the border. There was a grocery store, gas station grocery store called Super Duper. I noticed on Google Maps it had plenty of parking, and I went in there. And lo and behold, 2 nights of parking there, $5 each. Okay, $5 each. 2 more nights. This is now my second reset. And for those of you who don't know, when you run out of hours in Canada and USA, you need to take at least 34 hours off or 36 hours, and most truck drivers who run both countries take 36 hours because it satisfies a reset in both countries, which allows you, gives you back your 70 hours for the week. Okay, I've done 2 at that point. Okay, so now it's Friday, and there's no hope of me getting this load cleared on a Friday. So okay, fine. Now they're talking about putting the load in bond, okay? And they'll get back to me shortly. I've heard the words, "I'll get back to you shortly," were a common theme of this whole scenario. And they just never kept getting back to me. So I was constantly on them. And anyway, so that's fine. Finally, Saturday, talked to them in the morning. They said, yeah, we're just waiting for the customer to give us some information and give me a fax number, and I will send you some paperwork. The load will be going in bond. Okay, fine. They did that. They did that. 11 pages, $11 US later, and I was on my way to the border. I get to the border, and the guy says to me, "Why is this load in bond? Canada Customs, CBSA. Why is this load in bond?" So I told him the story, and he goes, "All you needed to do was come to the border, and we would have fixed it for you." I said, how is a person supposed to know that when the company tells you not to go to the border because it's a very big fine? He goes, in 16 years, I've dished out that fine 1 time, and it was because the driver wasn't listening, and he was being a totally belligerent and an a-hole. And that's not the word he used, that's the word I'm going to use. And he used many more bad words. I was trying to say that other word, but I can't think about it. It's not coming out properly. Anyway, so he says, yeah, you just should have come to the border. We could have fixed this up for you in no time, and you would have been on your way. Well, if you don't know that, you don't know that. And he says, and he threw in a disclaimer. He says, And I said, well, this is the first time I've ever crossed here. How would I know that? And he goes, well, you don't. You just have to take your chances. I said, well, I can't, because I said, he goes, you're right. And not every border is the same. He goes, but in 16 years, I dished out that fine one time. It was only because the guy was belligerent and he wasn't listening. And we kept going round and round and round. So finally, I just gave him a fine, and that was that. Anyway, so now the load's in bond. And my company says, you're going to Calgary to the bond warehouse. But call me once you clear customs. Okay, I cleared customs. So now I'm walking back to the truck after getting my paperwork stamped off. And he goes, I phoned him before I left there, and he goes, okay, go to a truck stop, but don't go to the customer. I said, I'm not going to Calgary. No, you're not going to Calgary. You're just going to go to a truck stop in nearby and wait until the load clears bond, and then you'll be able to go and deliver it directly. Well, that was Saturday. This is Monday morning. So now I'm up to 3 full resets for this trip alone. I did talk to my boss. I told him that. I said, I'm not sure if you're aware of everything. And I'm not sure if he was, because he just was surprised to find out the load was in bond. But he said, don't worry about it. I'll compensate you. I don't know what that's going to look like, but I can't wait to see. But anyway, the point is, as I stated, this is the worst week in trucking that I can remember. I've had to wait at the border before, never more than 24 hours. Now, I don't even think I ever waited. I think I actually, one time, if I can remember correctly, I was trying to cross back into Canada from North Dakota into Emerson, Manitoba, and I didn't have the proper paperwork set up and blah, blah, blah. I ended up parking at the gas tracks there, truck stop right before the border, and I ended up sleeping there. In the morning, I had the number, and I was good to go. So that was probably the longest I've ever spent based on this type of scenario. My boss also mentioned this morning that the customer in this case is a-hole. And now I don't know who the customer is. I don't know, actually, if I look at the paperwork, because I don't think he was referring to the people where I picked the load up, because they were very nice. Yeah. But the shipper shows one name, and but that doesn't necessarily mean they're the customer. It's yeah. And the broker on this load, I don't normally ever know who the broker is, but this case I did know. The woman gave me the number for the broker in the event that I had any issues, which was kind of weird, because I said I don't need it. Our customs department always deals with that, but she gave it to me anyway. I had the feeling, now I think I know why. And I never ever called them, but I did look them up. And I know the postal code was Toronto, and I've never heard of that broker before, ever. So I don't know how long they've been in business. I don't even know if they know their business. But it turns out, again, I'm waiting now. Apparently, I don't need to go to Calgary in order to go to the bonded warehouse to get this load cleared, but who knows how long this is going to take. I'm going to stop this video here, but I'm also going to give an update to see how long how long did I actually stay here. Okay. All right. This is the updated video to the one I just created the other day about being stuck in the mountains for the last, out west here for the last, well, it's now, let's see, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I'm on day 9 right now, and I've done 3 complete resets. It took Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, 7 days to get rid of a load that I traveled less than, from pickup to delivery was less than 400 miles. Took 7 days to get rid of it. 2 drops in Kelowna, British Columbia. And now, you know, and it was a disaster. Okay, I went into that previously. Nobody ever returned my calls. And when I got there, the amazing thing was the second drop, both addresses that I had were incorrect, both of them. Okay, on my bill of lading, I had delivered 2 addresses, both of them were incorrect. The good news was, thanks to Google, I was able to track down the proper addresses and phone numbers. The one place, the first drop, the guy answered the phone and told me, gave me the address, actually, the true address, and I managed to get that off on Monday. The other place I went to on Monday, they had a closed fence. They had it didn't even look like the delivery place, even though that was the address. The name was on the sign. There was a sign, there was a name and a phone number. And because it's a fruit place, they sprayed pesticides, and they said that you have to call this number in order to gain access to the yard. I called the number, I left a message, I waited, nobody returned the call. This was actually on a road that was a non-truck route. I knew I needed to get off of there because it was only a 1-lane road, and I was, you know, people were struggling to get around me. So I was able to back up down another road beside this driveway and get turned around. Fast forward to the next day, I called another number and that I found on Google. And because it turns out this particular customer has several locations in British Columbia, but 2 in Kelowna. So I found this other address, and the picture on Google Map, or on Google, the street view showed me a place that really looked like a place that they would take a delivery, compared to the other place, which I could barely see, but it would look like a big house, which turned out to be the owner's house. Okay, that's all it was. They weren't accepting deliveries there, but nobody ever returned my call. 2 messages to them. The next time I called the real number, there was actually nobody answered, but there was a recorded message telling me, here's a phone number for the shipper receiver. I phoned that number, and it was a voicemail. And I said to the guy, you know, whatever you would say, this is the scenario, please call me back, let me know if this is the place. Never called me back. I called again, never called me back. So I took a chance and drove there, because it was actually only 4 kilometers from the truck stop where I was staying at. And sure enough, it was there. When I went inside the building to talk to the guy, he says to me, we've been trying to track down this load for a week, and nobody could give us any answers. And I said to you, and I should have said to him, I never thought of it till later, but before I even picked up the load, the company said the requirement for picking up this load, I had to download a tracking app. Well, who's tracking the load if it's not the shipper or receiver? Maybe the shipper was, but they weren't giving the receiver any answers, because they kept calling them and they said they weren't giving them no indication of where the load was. So I don't know who required me to, it was a requirement before picking up the load, who required me to download this battery sucking app to track me on that trip, but nobody was using it except for me. And, okay, so fast forward to, I did tell him that I phoned this number. He goes, what number did you call? And I actually wrote it on the bill of lading and the guy's name. He goes, oh, that guy doesn't even work here anymore. That would be why he never called me back, number 1. Number 2, why would somebody who no longer works there, why would they still have him as a contact for shipping and receiving? And apparently he left in July. And this is the tail end of October. Got it off, went back to the truck stop, waited till all day yesterday, and it was at the very end of the day they sent me a message to come here. And they said, be there for first thing in the morning. And I said, and I sent them my company a reply saying, why would you want me to? They're always in a hurry to get you going. But meanwhile, the itinerary actually said 12:30 appointment. And a lot of places nowadays go by appointment. So they didn't provide me with a phone number, and plus they never responded when I said, why do you want me to go first thing in the morning, start my electronic logging device when it says a 12:30 appointment and I only have 148 kilometers to go. So I looked them up on Google, found the phone number. I called, I spoke to a woman, told her the scenario. She said, I heard her call out somebody, what time do they start shipping over here? And I didn't hear the person in the background, but she said, you can come anytime in the morning and they'll start loading you. Okay, good. I thought, great. I'll come over there and I'll appease my dispatcher by being there long before 12:30. I got here at 10 o'clock, 10:30 in the morning, local time. Okay. Only to find out that I will not get loaded until, as I pulled in, I get a mess. I sent a message to my dispatcher because they were in a panic for me to get going. I sent a message to my dispatcher saying, okay, I've arrived. I'm going to check in with shipper. Before I even got out of the truck, they said, we just found out you can't load until 3:30. Now I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So this week has not only gone from bad to worse. Even when I left where I was sitting, I said to myself, this week can't get any worse. It could, but I mean, I didn't know that then. So anyway, I thought, well, I'm going to go talk to the guy anyway. So I went and talked. I talked to a forklift driver who was driving around, and he goes, our machine is broken. You won't get loaded for several hours. So I thought, okay, maybe that's what they phoned the company to tell them. But then I relayed that message to my dispatcher. The machine's broken. I'm not going to get loaded for a few hours. Then he said, speak to the shipper and tell them that you're picking up a load on behalf of, and then I'm going to leave the name of that other trucking company out of this, but tell them you're loading for them. So I went back and I talked to the guy. I thought he was a shipper. He's a forklift driver. I said, are you the shipper or are you just running a forklift? He goes, no, we have a shipper. I said, where is he? Can I talk to him? He goes, I got to call him. So he calls him and he hands me his phone. I tell him the story and he goes, I told them you weren't going to get loaded till 5 o'clock. And I'm baffled. Now I'm really baffled. And I said, okay. I said, okay, thanks. And I didn't know what to say. I was just flabbergasted. And he goes, yeah, that load's not ready. It won't be ready till 5 o'clock. So I'm like, okay. Went back to the truck and I sent another message to my dispatcher telling them that. And I said, find me a load within a half an hour or I'm turning this truck around and going home. They said, they didn't reply right away, but they said, and I told them the scenario. I said, oh, no, before I said that, I said, find me something else to get me out of here so I don't have to sit here for till 5 o'clock tonight to get loaded. Because I said, by the time I'm loaded, I'm not going to have any hours to go anywhere, and you're going to still expect me to deliver this in Calgary at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. I said, find something else. Get me out of here. And then 2 minutes later, the shipper actually drove up. He parks beside my truck and he gets out and he says, and then he's telling me all this stuff and he goes, he's just repeating what he told me on the phone, and he goes, and he says to me, I'm really sorry, but I told them that. And I said, could you tell me, when did they know that it wasn't going to be the load wasn't going to be ready till 5 o'clock? He said, when I booked the load yesterday afternoon. And what did I say earlier? They told me when I pulled in here that they just found out that I wasn't going to load till 3:30. Dispatchers lie. If you don't know that now, I want you to know it now. But if you haven't figured it out by now, dispatchers will say anything they need to say that they think that you want to hear in order to get you moving. Okay, because that means you're moving. You're out of their hair. Now they can focus on lying to somebody else. Uh, I'm 40 years into this trucking industry business. I've had it up to here. I really have. And so once he told me that, that's when I sent the message and said, you know what? I'm out of here. I just found out that the load won't be ready till 5 o'clock, and I'm going home empty. I'm leaving right now. I live in Manitoba. It's over 2,000 kilometers from this spot where I'm sitting right now. And he says, no, 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 wait. We'll pay you to stay there and load. So I got on the phone with my wife and I told her the scenario, and I said, you know what? I really want to turn around and go home, but I said, you know what? If I do that, I'm not going to get paid for the return trip home. And when I try to find another job, this is going to be a black mark on my record. So they did say they were going to confirm. So I ended up sending them a message. I said, okay, so far since October 17th, today is the 29th. I left home on the 17th. I've done 3 full resets since the 17th. And I haven't even done 500 miles. I did. Well, from Winnipeg to the place I delivered in Washington. Yeah, that was the long portion of the trip. But since then, since I did the first reset to the 3 of them, I haven't even done 500 miles. Okay. And even now, when I pick up this load, it's back to Calgary, and it's only just over 700 and some odd kilometers from here to there. So, and then who knows what's going to happen to me when I get to Calgary. But anyway, they said, so I said, okay, tell me, what are you paying me for the 3 full resets plus the days wasted sitting here? And they said, oh, I'll have to talk to HR about that, and I'll get back to you. Well, they still haven't, and that's been hours ago. So I suspect that I'm going to be getting shafted, and that'll be part 3 of this video, but I'm going to probably have to wait until payday to update you on that. So that's it.
So they paid me $400 for 3 total resets. And just as a recap, a reset consists of 36 hours, 34 for one country, 36 for the other. But you might as well do, any truck driver knows, if that runs Canada and USA, you might as well do 36 hours, because those 2 extra hours will satisfy 70 hours. You'll get your 70 hours back. Okay, so that's better than a kick in the butt with a frozen muckluck. And having said that, if I didn't complain about anything, I probably would have got nothing. So I'm thankful for that, at least that. And they did reimburse me every penny for my expenses. And my friend in Texas sent me this NRA hat he picked up for free at the gun show. I'm not a gun owner. He is, and but he doesn't wear hats, so he sent it to me. Hope you like it. I do. Thanks, Louis. And also, the last thing I want to say is I'm 63 years old. I'm really ready to retire. Anybody who knows anything about the trucking industry knows that, and I've been in it since 1983, things are not getting any better in this industry, only going the opposite way. And I'm tired. I am really tired, and I want out. If you can, most of the people that watch my channel are not subscribed, and I know my content isn't all that great. It's a learned skill, and I'm working at it. So, but I appreciate the subscriptions, and that'll help me retire, because CPP and old age pension, which I'm going to start getting in 2 years, is not going to cut it for me. So my wife and I are going to have to spend 6 months in Thailand and 6 months in Canada just to be able to survive, because I honestly don't want to spend the rest of my life driving a truck until the day I die. So I appreciate everybody who subscribes and thumbs up. And until the next one, God bless. And yeah, we'll see you down the road. Be safe out there.